Hello everyone, in today's video I will be drawing a Y2K inspired character. I'll be talking about the sketching, the inking, and then finally the coloring process. So let's dive right into it. So for this drawing, initially I didn't really have a plan of how I wanted the drawing to look like. I also didn't know much about this Y2K aesthetic, so I literally did a little bit of research. And when I mean research, literally I opened up Google Images, went on Pinterest, searched up different images, anything that fit this aesthetic. Then once I did that, I tried to design a character, but as you'll see in this drawing, I changed up a lot of different things. So in the end, this drawing really became very, very loosely based on the Y2K aesthetic. And on the left side of that page there, that drawing I did earlier, previously, it was based on the grunge aesthetic. So yeah, I'm just drawing different characters based on different aesthetics. So here for the face, I didn't really know which expression I wanted on the character, so I just kind of did like a basic face where it's like a slight smile but not really a smile. And I think here you'll see it like shortly, the right eye specifically, for whatever reason, when I was coloring it in, I didn't really like the size of the pupil, and so I went back in like, I want to say like 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 times, just going back in with the eraser. And then here I'm using like a 4B pencil, so it's a pretty dark pencil. So what happened was that it was like smudging all over the place, and it was literally, you guys should have seen like my fingers at the end of this drawing. It was all like dark and like filled with lead. But yeah, here's that right eye I was talking about. So I tweaked it a bunch of times, and the amount of times I was erasing, I was worried that I would just dig a hole on the sketchbook paper. So it was like, yeah, I was hoping that the face would be okay, but then I think at the end, I finally did get the eye to the way I liked it. I added a little bit eyeliner to the eye as well. So yeah, in the end, it was okay. Sometimes you just gotta try 1 or 2 times to get it right. And then here, this puffer jacket, I was playing around with that shape. I really wanted to emphasize the squareness of the puffer jacket and just contrast it with the character's figure, because the character is pretty slim, so I wanted to add a lot of width to the jacket. And also the character is kind of leaning to the right side, so a bit of the jacket would like kind of peek out, or not peek out, like kind of stick out to the left side. So I also wanted to emphasize that, because something I want to really practice is like character poses and adding a little bit movement to the pose. So yeah. And then something for like the Y2K, I saw a lot of baggy jeans specifically. I didn't go with the jeans, but I just drew some baggy pants. I didn't also have a reference for these pants specifically, so these folds were all just from my imagination, so I was really just winging the entire thing. The references that I did use, it was kind of hard to see the folds of the different pants, so here I was just guessing that the folds would be like underneath the knees, that area, and then you can see where it's like folding right above the shoes, because I was envisioning that these pants were a little bit longer, so as they might get like bunched up as they get closer to the shoes. So yeah. Then for these shoes, I really exaggerated the size of it. If you see, these shoes are ginormous. the reason why I did that was that I could fit more details on the shoes. It's just easier when like an object is bigger to add those details. And I wanted to draw the laces, different patterns on the shoes, and just have fun with that. So yeah, here, for whatever reason, I don't know why, I just started coloring in the hair with this pencil, which is really funny because I was going to just erase it anyways for like the inking portion. What I do is I lighten it up with my kneaded eraser, like the entire sketch. I'll lighten it up so that in that way I can see where the lines are and then where my ink is to ensure that I ink the entire drawing. But yeah, here is the inking process. I literally went pretty slowly on the face and tried to get all the lines the closest I can get to the pencil sketch. Now, sometimes I kind of change things up. But yeah, for the face, I wanted it to be as close as possible to what I had initially. Then here I traced the outline of the character with my brush pen. Usually what I used to do was I started with a fine liner and drew out every line, but since I already know that I want the outside border of the character to be like of a thicker line, I just went in right away with that brush pen and added those dark lines right at the start. Then with the smaller details, I went in with like a fine liner, which you guys will see shortly. But then for this hair, I was debating on whether or not to fill in the area with just like one solid color, like a black color. So I think I was like playing around with it. I don't know if I do that here or later. I can't remember, but this is the fine liner I was talking about. I think it's the size is like roughly 0.7. It's a pretty medium size. It's really good for details and stuff. So that's what I used. Then for like the puffer jacket, you'll see, but the lines, I kind of went over it multiple times, and then wherever the line was close to the outside edges of the jacket, I kind of created like a little triangle or like a wedge to kind of indicate that there's a little bit of a shadow there. So if you guys look closely, you'll see that. I think it just added a little bit more depth to that drawing, which I really liked. And for these wrinkles of these pants, I just traced everything with the fine liner as well. Yeah. And then for the shoes, I think I went over it with the fine liner again. And I was trying to decide which areas to color in and which areas to leave as just like white color. So I don't know. I looked at a lot of different references for the shoes to try to figure it out, and I think in the end it turned out pretty good. I like how I drew that. But yeah, I sketched this part. Then I think I go in with the hair for the next part of it. So here's where I was talking earlier, like I was playing around with the idea of leaving some portions of it white. I honestly really didn't have a plan with this drawing. I was literally winging it as I went along. But right here specifically, I wanted to point out that I added like a white strand close to the face, mainly because I didn't want that right eye, that eyeliner, to be covered up by the hair, since I just liked the shape of that eye. So that was just like my little sneaky hack that I did. And then for the other strands, I played around with the shape of the strand, tried to figure out how much white strand I wanted peeking out. And I kind of ended up with something similar to this. I thought like the white strands really added a lot of movement to the hair, and you can really see the hair just being like tucked underneath that arm. So I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. Then for the painting process, I took out my acrylic paints and decided to use this lavender color. I was trying to get the color as similar to the left page because I really love it when both the left and the right side or the right page of a sketchbook spread like match and like it has a common theme. So this was like the closest I could get to that color, and I literally love this color so much. Like if everything in my life could be this color, I would be so happy. But yeah, and I just filled in all the little shapes here. I didn't even have a plan for how the colors would go, so I was really making it up on the spot. And for the background, I knew I wanted it to be like a lighter color. Like I really wanted like a light gray color, similar to the way that the walls are in the left page of the sketchbook spread. But I ended up with this color right here, and it was the color was so close to the shade of the puffer jacket that honestly I couldn't really tell the difference, especially on camera. I don't think there's much of a difference there, but in person you can kind of tell. But yeah, I wish it was like more gray tone than lavender for the background. Yeah, and then for the pants also, I was initially thinking of doing like a dark gray maybe, or like a darker color, but then as time progressed in this drawing, I was like, no, I'm just gonna leave it white and then just color in the folds of the pants. Not because it was like an artistic decision, more so it was a decision out of pure laziness because I didn't want to color in the entire pants. So I just did a couple sections there and left it like that. And I think it actually worked out pretty well because on the right side of this page, it's pretty simple and minimalist. So it nicely contrasts with the left side of the page where there's like a lot of things going on and it's pretty busy on the left side. So yeah, so this is pretty close to the finished illustration, and I guess I show the end results of it. But yeah, comment down below if you guys want to see any other aesthetics and you want me to create a character based on those aesthetics. I would love to do that. And maybe like one of my future videos. I've just been going through the list, so yeah. Oh, I forgot before going to the outro, I colored in like a couple parts of the drawing with the highlighter. The shirt, I wanted it to be like a darker color, but then what was happening was that it started streaking the markers, or not the markers, the page, and it kind of started bleeding through the back, even though it was like a water-based markers. So I decided just to leave the color as is, and then here for the face, I used my Prisma color pencil, specifically the classic 12 color set, and tried to blend a bunch of different colors to get the color of the face. I wanted it to be like a pale complexion, but I ended up adding too much red. So I think in the end it became like more of a warmer tone, which I'm not complaining about, but it was not what I had envisioned initially. But I think with this white color pencil, once I blended everything out, it didn't look too terrible. I'll say that. So yeah, I think now this is the point where I'm like closer to the end. Sometimes I can't remember what I drew and what I added. But yeah, this is the final illustration. Thank you all so much for watching.